Oh, thank you. Thank you. All right. Can everybody hear me? Loud and clear. Okay. I'm actually usually not the sort of guy who needs a mic because I've been blessed with a pretty interestingly loud voice. But how many of you guys have noticed, this is just me, how many of you guys have noticed that there's a sink in this room? Like when I walked in, I walked in about at 3 o'clock when it finished, and I walked over and I checked out the whole room, and I was so impressed, and I turned over there, and there's sinks over there, right? It was where you can wash your hands and cups and stuff. And I was like, interesting. So do people give talks here and then just go over and wash their hands when they're done? So I was like, wow, this is pretty cool. Also, another thing that are really interesting about this whole room is have you checked out those cubicles over there? They look like shower cubicles, right? I was talking with the Magic team about this. What do people do inside those cubicles? They're not meeting rooms. They're not phone booths. So what are they? But anyways, sorry, I digress. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. I can't hear you. Good afternoon. Okay, better. Okay, so I'm really glad that I didn't get you after lunch because most of you would be half asleep, right? We have that rice high. But as us Asians, we love our rice, right? I'm actually Eurasian. I'm half. That's a long story. It's a story for another day. I'm mixed. Long story short, I'm mixed, right? I'm very, very happy to be here. It's an honor standing on the shoulders of giants like Magic, and I would like to thank Magic for inviting me here to share my thoughts. Let me start off by saying that I'm actually not here to lecture anybody. I'm not here to train or coach anybody. I'm actually I call myself a storyteller. And why do I call myself a storyteller? Because I think stories are the most powerful way to engage not just audiences, but brands, people. Think about it, right, guys? How many of you guys growing up would listen to stories and then would remember those stories, the moral of the stories? How many of you guys watch cartoons? I mean, everybody watched cartoons. How many of you guys watched cartoons when you were young? Right? I used to watch He-Man, Thundercats, the whole Jing Bang, right? Lion-O, Thunder, right? So, the interesting thing about those cartoons was the fact that every episode had a lesson in it. Even though it was a story, there was a lesson in it, right? Interestingly, when I was growing up, I used to always ask myself, why do we always make sales? Why do we make our jobs so serious? Why do we, when it comes to selling something, why does there have to be a pitch? Why does it have to be slides, official, formal? Why can't you make sales fun? Why can't you make sales all about stories? So that, if you're presenting something really complex, let's just say I'm selling software, and it's a really complex software. I used to work for Google, right, with Google, and we used to sell really, really complex productivity suites. You guys have heard of Microsoft Office, obviously, right? So Google has its own suites, Google Apps for Work, right? And so we used to sell that. But instead of talking about the product, we had this saying at Google was live the way you work and work the way you live. Which means that whatever you're doing, don't sell it, make people want to buy it. Right? Let me repeat that. Don't sell it, make people want to buy it. What's the difference? Can anybody tell me? What's the difference between don't sell it, but make people want to buy it? Anybody? Absolutely. Push, right? So we have a term for that today. It's called inbound, right? But I'm going to get into it a bit later. But let me start off. So, okay. Anybody seen this before? What is that? The evolutionary chart, right? Okay, so, hey, Keith, is there a pointer on this thing? Keith, where are you at? Keith, is there a pointer? Do I press that? The R? Sorry, thank you. Thanks. So, sorry for the interruption, guys. So, at that point, to this point, to this point, to this point, to this point, what do we have here, guys? What do we have right here? What do you think this is, this big question mark? What is that? All right, so if we look at each of these stages, have you noticed that they're all one color? Right? They're all one color, right? And that's the evolutionary chart. Now, I'll explain to you why I'm showing this to you in a short while. I want you to understand why I called the title of this talk The End of Sales. Right? I've gotten into arguments with audience members saying, AJ, there's no way you can end sales. I had the same argument when I was talking at TEDx a couple of weeks ago. And on TEDx, after my talk, somebody actually came and got into a full-blown argument with me, saying that I don't believe that there's any sales will ever end. And I said, I think you misunderstand what I'm talking about. And hopefully, this audience will be a little bit more, let's just say, accepting of my ideas. Right? Right? Yeah. It's not like you have a choice, right? I'm just kidding. No, I'm just kidding. Right. Okay. I don't like to talk about myself, but I do a whole bunch of crap, right? And I literally do a whole bunch of crap. I sit on various advisory boards. I head up a millennial university out of Hawaii that's been incorporated in 1972. I'm their millennial advisor. We have campuses all over the world. I'm an advisor to a creative agency whose CEO is sitting right here, by the way. Say hi, Cage, right? I've done a host of things in the last 12 to 15 years. I've been on TEDx, and I've worked closely with Magic on a few workshops. I'm a mentor on Future Lab. Future Lab, how many of you guys have heard of Future Lab? Do you guys know what Future Lab is? It's really, really awesome. A good friend of mine, Brian, runs the whole thing. It's really, really awesome, right? But enough about me. I hate talking about myself, so let's get to the real part, right? So, like I said earlier, I'm not here to coach. I'm not here to train. I'm not doing any of that. I'm just giving you guys a perspective. Just a perspective. And I want you to listen with a complete open mind and tell me if you agree with my perspective by the end of this talk. What are we going to do today? I always start off by talking about what are we going to do today? What are you guys going to walk away after you're done with this, what are you going to walk away with? One, I'm going to show the audience and how digital we already are, right? A lot of people underestimate what we're doing in life and how digitally connected we already are. I know a lot of people who are baby boomers. Okay, before I get into baby boomers and everything, is everybody familiar in the audience with different generations here? Everybody familiar? Gen Y, Gen X, Gen Z, you know? Okay, so I'm just gonna use those terms like loosely. Baby boomers often come up to me and say, AJ, why is it that people always assume that we're not tech savvy? Think about it this way, guys. Don't you think sometimes that the very categorization, for example, I'm a millennial, right? I'm a millennial myself. I'm Gen Y, right? A lot of people automatically assume by looking at me and talking to me that I must be really tech savvy. I must be really digital, right? But if I introduce my dad to somebody who's about 70 now, people automatically assume that he needs to be handheld on how to use a computer, right? Don't you think it's a little bit like presumptuous, right? I know a lot of CEOs. Okay, we're all like, are we all Malaysians in this room, or are there? I can see a few people who are not from Malaysia, right? Okay, but the vast majority is obviously Malaysian. How many of you guys know GLCs like UEM, Sime Darby, all these companies, right? What's the average age of the CEOs? What's the average age of the people who run those organizations? 50, 60, right? Tell me something, guys. Do you think those guys aren't tech savvy? Honestly? Do you think that they don't use WhatsApp? Hell, I can bet you they use WhatsApp a lot more than we do, right? Right? Okay, so here's the interesting thing. I coach and train with a host of different levels of organizations. I work with primary school students all the way up to C-level, people who are sitting at the top of Sime Darby type of organizations. And I can tell you something. The concept of categorizing people by their generations is bullshit. It's complete bullshit. It doesn't work that way. Gen Y, Gen Z, Gen X, it doesn't. It's just something that we use to assume things of other people. And why am I sharing this with you? You'll understand as I go into the talk, right? But today is about you understanding that if you want to identify customers and you really want to understand sales, it's not about understanding technology. It's about understanding people. Let me repeat that. It's not about understanding how digital or how savvy somebody is technologically or which app we can use, which platform we can use, which technology disrupts. The real disruption happens through people, right? And I'll explain as I go further. And of course, I want us to have a little bit of fun. Right. What does this mean? I like to keep my talks interactive. Can anybody tell me, what does this mean? People's behavior has changed. What does this mean? What's changed, guys? Thank you, Angela. Absolutely. Thank you. Anybody else? Don't be shy. I don't bite. Well, at least not that hard. Right? Don't be shy. Anybody? Speak up. Yeah. Okay. Don't tell me what I want to buy. I know what I want. Anybody else? It doesn't need to be loud to present yourself. Well said. Anybody else? Pardon? Peer recommendation. Very true. We trust our friends more than we trust brands today. That's true. So here's what I meant. The old marketing playbook is broken. And by the old marketing playbook, what do I mean? Let's zoom into the details. This is Malaysia, guys, by the way. These are stats from Malaysia. They're not global. These are Malaysian stats. 86% of the urban Malaysian environment skips TV ads. Let me repeat that so it sinks in. 86% of the TV advertisements that we watch, all of us on TV, we skip them. And do you know why? Can anybody guess why? No, because more than half of us don't watch TV anymore. Dude, I don't watch TV. I'm on my laptop most of the time. I'm either on iFlix, and I'm a bit nationalistic about iFlix. Yeah, iFlix all the way. Who cares about Netflix, right? Right? Hey man, the iFlix Netflix thing is a huge case study. That duopoly, we can learn a lot about storytelling and real sales from Azran. How many of you guys know who Azran is, right? Have you been to one of his events? He's seriously dope, man. That guy's awesome, right? Because he understands it, he gets it. And I'll tell you more about that later. But 91% of Malaysians unsubscribe from email. You know that annoying, like all those spam emails that come in? All of us are desperate to get it out of our inbox. Because we open it up on a Saturday morning and we see a bazillion emails that are not important and one in that whole maze that we should read. And sometimes, because of the bazillion crap emails, we miss the one that's important to read, right? How many times has that happened to you? It's happened to me before. Like I've seen a bunch of emails that probably aren't really important, and I assume they're all crap, and I delete all of them, and then I get a call from a friend like, dude, didn't you get my email? I was like, sorry, right? So 91% of us unsubscribe from emails. And get this, guys, this is really interesting. 44% of Malaysians don't even open the email that reaches our inbox. 44% of us don't open emails that are sitting in our priority inbox. That means that there are more of us right now in this room with an iPhone. You know that the mail symbol on your thing? There are more of us in this room that have like a red counter on it saying 35 that we've never read. And every time somebody looks at it, my friends go, dude, why do you have like 120 emails like unread? And I'm like, yeah, I'll get to it. Like when? I don't know, next year? I'll get to it. Right? So why am I sharing this with you? Why am I telling you all this, guys? Why am I telling you this? Because you know what? In your face advertising doesn't work anymore. That's what I meant by we've all changed. In your face advertising, people want you to see their brand 10 times. It doesn't work anymore. You know what it does? It annoys us. It creeps us out. If you don't believe me, think about it. Every time you go online, you're on Facebook, if you see the same ad coming up, don't you click like stop, 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 like leave me alone, spam, spam, right? We have zero patience now. But here's my question. Why is it that 90% of business owners, whether you're an entrepreneur or an SME, or even if you're a slightly larger organization, why is it that we still insist on using things like direct mailers on emails? Why do we still blast out emails? Why do we still insist on having people who pick up the phone and call people randomly? You still get credit card people in banks, right, calling you, sir, you want the credit card? You know? Right? You still get it. Doesn't it annoy you? When was the last time you heard somebody and say, yes, yes, I've been waiting for your call. Yes, I wanted that card all along. Nobody does that, right? My point is the old marketing playbook is dead. Now that we've actually all agreed that it's dead, what's happening? What is it becoming into? What is the new marketing playbook? And that is why I call this talk the end of sales. What's changed? What's happened, guys? What's changed? Brands don't control us anymore. We control brands. That's what's changed. The customer has become empowered. Right? The customer is in complete control today. And what does that mean? It means that engagement is no longer about what the brand wants you to see or what they want you to do. It's about what you want from the brand now. And that means that with technology, with digital disruption, everything around us is moving at the speed of light. Everything around us. You name it. Cars have gotten more advanced. Phones have gotten more advanced. Name me something that hasn't changed in the last 50 years. Almost every industry has been disrupted, right? So, the new face of competition, what is it? One of my favorite dudes in the world, Gary Vaynerchuk. How many of you guys know who Gary Vaynerchuk is? Anybody follow him? He's seriously dope, right, man? Gary puts it like nobody else. And I love this. I love this saying. There is no sale without the story. There's no knockout without the setup. Now, here's the thing. How many of you guys, instead of pitching, tell stories? Let's be honest. This is not, by the way, this is not a rhetorical question, guys. It's not one of those questions I ask myself and you just nod. It's one of those questions you answer honestly. How many of you guys actually explain something in the form of an engaging story as opposed to just a pitch when you go into a meeting? I would have thought Tanuja tells stories. Yeah? Okay. I want you guys to look at this video because it's going to open your eyes. This video is a very good example. Let me say that right. This video is a very good example of how brands have evolved. And I need you to know this because this video, in a very quick period of time, is going to allow you to understand the power of a story versus pushing your product or service into people's faces. Right? Keith, I hope this works. Keith, where are you at? Where's the play button, bro? Is it? Sorry. Can we turn down the lights, maybe? There's no sound, Keith. Sorry, guys, technical error. We'll be right back.
Good morning, sir. Ready to get up? I'm gonna get your feet up.
Can we put up the
How
volume,
you doing
please?
today?
Okay.
Good morning.
I remember
Thank you.
always looking at my dad's arms, like when I was like 8, 9, 10 years old. He had arms like Popeye. He was a tugboat captain, and I so admired his physique. And now it's a different story, you know? And that's just the way it is. So my dad had a stroke, and now he can't get around, he can't walk. And he needs me to help him out. And my son Luke and I have been doing it. And I'd do anything for him.
I can give you a really good mohawk. You look like a punk rocker.
There's a definite role reversal that happens. I have to wake him up in the morning and take care of him and groom him and shave him and shower him. It's actually an honor to do that for your father, because he did it for me when I was a kid. My dad's got the greatest face. His squishy face is just amazing. He's sort of thin-skinned, and I don't want to cut it at all. So I got to be careful with that face. Like, he'll just say, do this, do that. You got to make sure that you shave my neck down. You got to do my lips up. You know, he was really particular about his sideburns.
That's where your sideburns start? I'm not going to touch your sideburns.
Okay, good.
Okay? How am I doing so far, Dad?
Okay.
You know, it takes me like a half an hour to shave my father, because I have to be so careful.
Can't believe what that is.
Okay, I will. Oh, there we go. Okay, good. Love that face. Hi.
I'm one of the lucky ones. A lot of my friends my age do not have their dads, and I still have my dad. He always says to me, he looks up at me after I pour love on him for the whole day, and he says, I don't know what I did to deserve you. And I say, Dad, I got you. I got you, Dad.
Okay. How do you feel after watching that video? Do you feel touched? Okay. Go back with me in time 10 years ago. When I was growing up, TV3, TV2. Picture this ad for Gillette. You remember the ad? It was a dude standing in front of a mirror, you know, some guy who's got relatively good abs, you know, who's standing in the mirror in a towel, and he's shaving, and there's a tune, as a jingle at the back goes, the best a man can get from Gillette. You remember that ad? Right? Some of you weren't born, but, you know, unfortunately, I'm a little bit older, right? So imagine the evolution. Now, just imagine, guys, the evolution from that to this. What's changed? In this ad, they don't even throw a razor in your face, do they? There's no talk of the product. There's no talk of the service. What are they doing? They're humanizing the brand. They want you to feel something. It's not about trying to sell Gillette to you. It's about you associating something that feels really good with the brand. Question, guys. How many of you are doing this same humanization for your customers? How many of you are thinking this way? I think you're now starting to understand what I mean by the end of sales in a digital world. Because the hard sell, the soft sell, none of it works anymore. People don't want eyeballs. They don't want people just looking at your brand. What they want is a connection. You need to shift your mind away from transactions into relationships. Videos like this, even Maxis and Petronas, every year, they come up with these videos that touch us, right? And they win awards globally. for those videos. Why? How many of you guys know that ever since Maxis and Petronas have been doing those ads the way they've been doing them for the last 10 years, how many of you know that Maxis has seen an overall 37% increase in revenue? An overall 37% increase in revenue. And that's also attributed to LTV, lifetime value. I don't know if you guys went to Sriram's turbocharging growth thing, but again, you know what LTV is, a lifetime value for a customer. So you measure the value of that customer over a 1, 3, or 5-year period. A 37% increase in the average for LTV. How many people are willing to argue with me now that stories don't work? People are looking to connect with something greater than a sales pitch. People are looking to feel something now. They want emotion. And that's why I always say, sales pitches are being replaced by influence now. I was at Sunway University a couple of weeks ago, and I was in the auditorium. There were 200 students. I asked them, how many of you guys are on Facebook? Almost half the class put up their hands. How many are on Snapchat? 80% of them put up their hands. How many are on LinkedIn? Like 6 people put up their hands. LinkedIn, 6 people. Mind you guys, these are third-year students about to go into the job market, right? Third-year students, they've got 1 year left in college, and when I said who's on LinkedIn, like 6 or 7 people put up their hands. And get this, then I added one more question. How many of you are active on LinkedIn? Like 2 people left in the whole auditorium. 2 of them were active. The rest, the other 4, they're not even active. And here's the punchline. I'm like, let me get this straight, guys. You're third-year students about to hit the job market, and 80% of you are on Snapchat, and 50% of you are on Facebook. But less than 2% are on LinkedIn, the one platform that could possibly secure, through your influence and through your thought leadership, through people seeing the value you bring in a professional context, less than 2% of you are on that platform. Is that what you're saying? And they were like, well, if you put it that way, AJ, right? My point is, why do people get onto LinkedIn? Is it just to build a CV? No. It's to engage with people. The people you engage with are your investors if you're looking to start up. The people you engage with are your employers or recruiters that are going to give you the next job. There are a million ways that you can build powerful stories about yourself and about your capabilities that doesn't have to sell you, but it makes people want to invest in you. You get what I mean, guys? Okay. Now, let us revisit the slide. Let us go back to the original slide. Now, in the previous slide, this was missing, wasn't it? You know what's happening right now, guys? You know what's happening? Just like every one of these is just one color, what we've become today is just like this man, but we're just one color right now. We're one color. Let me explain myself. We don't spend enough time doing things the way we love to do them. We don't spend enough time speaking out and saying things that we really want to. We don't share the things that really, really drive us enough. So what we've ended up being is basically, instead of progressing, we're going backwards. We're becoming more and more robots. You don't believe me? Look at the students today. I've spoken at the Ministry of Education. I've been to several events. I've spoken to people at MOE and MOE. Do you guys know that despite all the straight A's in this country, do you know that on average, every student that comes out of university takes up to 6 to 12 months to find a job? So, let me ask you guys a question. If IQ is not the problem, and people are getting straight A's left, right, and center, what's the problem? What's the problem? It's not that Malaysians aren't smart, right? I was born in Malaysia. I consider myself a Malaysian. Are we saying that Malaysians are dumb? No. We're friggin' smart, man. We know what we're doing, right? We've got it going on. But the problem is, we think our straight A's are what success is defined as in life. That's what we think is success. And that's what our parents tell us. Straight A's, tuition, blah, 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 run, 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 run. Before the kid can even turn 13, 14, we make it like a rat race already. He comes back from home, goes to tuition, comes back home, plays piano. Everything is all about building a CV. So my point is what are we doing to change that? How are we going to become more colorful? How do we do this? I've actually simplified it for the sake of all of us. And this is what I think we should be doing. I think that in life there are two people. I know this sounds very simplistic, but in life there are two types of people. There are the people who are active, the active ones that search for something in life. And the passive ones that discover things. They just stumble upon it. What I'm saying to you guys is the fact that our emotions are exactly the same. There are certain emotions that we feel that are actually active emotions. If I say something that will piss you off and make you angry, you'll react, right? You'll feel something, right? What you need to do is do exactly what Coke did last year in Singapore. How many of you guys know that Coke, which is over 123 years old as a company, how many of you guys know that in Singapore last year, they did a campaign where they printed people's names on a can? Question, guys. Why does a company that, quite frankly, is never going to go out of business? Let's be honest. Is Coke going to go out of business? Is Coke ever going to go out of business, really? Why is a company taking the trouble that it's basically probably, it's never going to go out of business. Why is it taking the trouble to print names on a can? Why? Pardon? Customer experience? Let me tell you something interesting. Everybody who was part of this campaign, every one of them, most of them never opened the can. Do you know that? 63% of the people who bought the Coke with their name on it, they never opened the can. All they did was they went and put the can at home. They put it on their shelf, they put it in the kitchen, they put it somewhere in the house. Why? Because you got AJ painted on a Coke can, right? But check this out, guys. It's not about the can or the name. It's about the fact that when I walk home, I see a can sitting right there with my name on it. And what do I attach my name to? Coke. It's subconsciously telling me that I need to drink Coke. Interesting that 60% never drank the Coke, but they just kept the can, right? But yet, revenue skyrocketed in Singapore by 13% that year alone. 13% in Coke sales. People drank more Coke just because you personalized and made it into a story for somebody. So, all of us know that we live in the Big Bang disruptive innovation area, right? I'm not going to bore you with that. I'm going to jump into something a bit more specific. I want to take an example of South Korea. How many of you guys have been to Korea? Have been to Korea? Do you guys know that at certain subway stations in Korea, when you get off the subway station, I want to bring your attention right here. Have you heard of a virtual supermarket? Do you know that people can get off in a subway station and use their phones to scan the device they want and the quantity and pay right there, cashless, and those items are delivered to their house? It's not even a real supermarket. It's just a virtual one. It has just shelves of showing that. You just scan it, you pay for it, you tell the quantity, and that shows up at your doorstep. Did you know something? I'm not making this up, guys. Did you know that this is a complete failure in Korea? It's a complete failure. Less than 4% of Koreans use this technology. Can somebody tell me why? Why is it that less than 4% of South Koreans use this technology? I'll tell you why. Because some things you can't replace. If I want to buy a bushel of apples, you know what? I want to be able to feel those apples. I want to be able to pick up that apple and feel it. If you're going to take the fun out of everything that you can touch and feel, where's the fun in that, man? Again, I repeat myself. It's not about how cool the app is or how awesome the platform is. Some things are all about humans. It's not about us reaching a point in our lives where everything we do is just one click of a button. That's not disruption. Disruption is in the way we embrace new technologies, the way we use it to add more value in our life. Now, I know I have limited time, so I'm just going to quickly run through. So, I want to ask you guys a question. How many of you have seen this slide? I'm sure you've seen it. IBM's used it all over the world, all the time. How many of you have seen this slide? The digital disruption has already happened, right? So let's pick a few. The most popular media owner creates no content, Facebook. The largest accommodation provider owns no real estate, Airbnb, right? The largest taxi cab or hailing company in the world, Uber, actually owns no vehicles, right? They don't own any of those cars, right? So here's the punchline. This is where I always find it odd. Would any of these platforms be what they are today if you and I didn't use them? How many apps are there that are on our phones right now? How many apps are there that we actually never use? They may be really cool, right? There's so many cool apps out there, am I right? There's so many awesome apps, right? But you never use them, right? Half the apps, I'm willing to bet you good money, on your mobile right now, probably 10% of the apps is what you use on a daily basis. The rest are just commentary. Am I right? So here's the thing. The success of anything hinges on how people use it, how intuitively they engage with it. So don't focus on and don't get blindsided by how awesome the Uber effect is. Focus on building stories. Focus on building color. Focus on building a brand that speaks to people, doesn't pitch them. It's not about pitching. It's not about going to meetings. Don't confuse movement with progress. A lot of people tell me, dude, I'm in meetings back to back. All right, so what's happening in those meetings? Well, I'm hustling, man, hustling. Everybody likes to use this word hustling these days. I'm hustling. Okay, what's the ROI? And by the way, when I say ROI, I don't mean money. What's the value you're creating by going to those meetings? Are you impacting someone's life by going to that meeting? When you leave that meeting, will somebody go, damn, that was a pretty awesome meeting. I learned a lot from AJ, and there's such value that I can see in synergizing with him. Most of the time when we leave a meeting, we talk about next steps and when can I send you the proposal? Am I right? When can I send you a proposal? When can we hear back from you? Why are we regressing in life? Why aren't we using what's the most powerful element within us, which is our ability to engage and inspire people in everything we do? So I'm going to jump. So there's okay, so this is pretty important. There's a revolution that's going on today. And today's buyer can be defined by 3 areas. At this point, 62% of time spent on the internet is on social activity. Again, these are Malaysian statistics, guys. Malaysian. 71% of people think companies should interact on social media. 79% of people feel a stronger connection with companies who engage on social media. And here's my question, guys. On social media, how many companies hard sell or soft sell today? How many of them do you see throwing ads at you, buy one, free one type ads? Do you see a change where companies are now trying to share more videos, more stories? My question to the audience is, why aren't you doing the same for your own business? And if you are, do it better. What do you guys think of this ad? What do you guys think of this ad? This is the traditional ad that we have, right? A lot of the SMEs that I know try this advertising. Now, what do you think of the same ad? Which one do you prefer, guys? Right? It's all about humanizing your brand today. I want to end this. Okay, so today was more of a preview to shift your mind into an understanding of where I'm going with this. This is a much more deeper topic. This topic is covered usually I cover this topic. It's called digital storytelling. I cover it within 2 days of a module, right? It's a very deep topic, and there are tons of case studies. I can talk about Netflix versus iFlix. I can talk about Uber versus Grab. But I don't have much time today, so I'm going to leave you with this video. And this video will actually share the sum total of what I want to impart with you and leave with you within your minds as an imprint, right? Okay, let me just... Can we have the volume up, please?
Once upon a time, business as usual was often good enough. No more. Where we are going, good enough is dead. In a world where everything is connected, where everything is equally excellent, where performance is reaching perfection, there's only one space left to innovate in: you. Right now, you are a central point in the raging tornado of change fueled by digitization, mobilization, augmentation, disintermediation, automation. Well, the list goes on. Science fiction is becoming science fact. Think about self-driving cars or computers that can learn and think. The way we work will never be the same. The skills we need will be dramatically different. Winning or losing are now happening faster than ever before. So what's your response? How will you discover new opportunities in one of the most transformational times in human history? Are you driving change, or are you being driven by it? Disruption has become the new normal. With change, it's always gradually, then suddenly, well, things really have stopped happening gradually. This change is exponential. Everything that used to be dumb and disconnected is now wired and intelligent. Cars, cities, ports, farms, even our bodies will be wired with sensors and will talk to each other. These game changers are also combinatorial. They amplify each other, creating a perfect storm of change. Quantum computing fuels big data. The Internet of Things fuels artificial intelligence and deep learning, which fuels robotics. However, anything that cannot be digitized or automated will become extremely valuable. Human-only traits such as creativity, imagination, intuition, emotion, and ethics will be even more important in the future, because machines are very good at simulating, but not at being. Yes, robots and software will do some of our work, but this will allow us to focus on things that cannot be automated. To imagine change squared, you've got to start engaging more with what might be, not just with what is. Immerse yourself in the immediate future, 5 to 7 years out from today. We need to go beyond technology and data to reach human insights and wisdom. Technology represents the how of change, but humans represent the why. The future is about holistic business model. The opportunity is to be liquid, to learn just in time, not just in case, not single improvements, but complete transformations, not individual systems, but new ecosystems. Humanity is where true and lasting value is created. We will engage, relate, and buy things because of the experiences they provide, because of their transformative power. The future doesn't just happen. The future gets happened. The new way to work is to embrace technology, but not to become it. The future is in technology, yet the bigger future lies in transcending it. Let's live and lead from here.
So guys, I'm going to be wrapping up today's preview session. It was a very short period of time, but what I've tried to do is I've tried to give you a clue into the future. Our future, and as this video says, the future is not just in the mind, the future is in your heart as well. What's happening is we've actually spent the last probably about half a century trying to perfect our minds and bring in business concepts into everything we do. We make things so formal, so rigid. But what about our heart? Are we bringing our passion and our purpose into everything we do? How are we communicating those things? It's not about becoming technology. It's about being able to use it to empower others and to inspire others. Now, what I want you guys to think about are the 4 things that we aren't doing. And I hope these are the 4 things that you guys will start doing in your lives and in your businesses. 1, we need to start going beyond just looking. Most of the time in our lives, we just look, we don't observe. What I want you to do is start realizing that the market can teach you so much if you only learn how to observe the market. Just go beyond looking. What we realize, what we've become is people who consume data at the speed of light. We scroll through our feeds, but we don't really learn. We don't really observe. Observe. And the other thing, which is the most important, how many of us inspire other people through our businesses? Let's be honest. How many of you inspire people? It doesn't matter if you're engineering, oil and gas, tech, it doesn't matter. You can always find a way to educate and inspire and make other people understand through stories, which is why I said the end of sales. Through those stories, I want you to think about how you can drive impact at scale. Because I'm telling you, if you share stories that inspire people, you will scale your business. And finally, the most important, how are we measuring and tracking our progress? These are the 4 things that I think a lot of people, yes, in tech startups, people are all about the ROI. They're really focused on monitoring and the metrics. But something that's missing is the inspiration, the EQ. People use the IQ fantastically. Everyone's all about the IQ, but no one's using the EQ at this point. So I'm going to wrap up now because I think I've run out of time. I've run out of time, right, dude? Yeah, I've run out of time. So I'm going to wrap up. And I'm going to leave you, because this is very, oh, by the way, the video that I showed you earlier, it's by a gentleman in Holland by the name of Gian Leonhard. And I'm actually writing a book with him that will be published next year in August. And I'm calling the book The Digital Kid. And I'm talking about things as a millennial, experiencing how the world is changing around me. It's actually a combination of my own life story growing up in Malaysia and seeing how the world has changed around me with millennials and digital. But just to wrap up, again, everything is held together with stories, and that's what's holding us together, stories and compassion. I want you to think about this in your business. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you so much, AJ, for that amazing talk. Now, just to remind you guys, fill up the survey form and you can pass it on to the registration counter on the outside at 6:30 p.m. But if you are leaving early, make sure you put it in the survey box that is right next to the registration counter.
Does anybody want to ask you questions? No? No
Yeah.
time? Yeah.
Now we're going to open up the Q&A session, but unfortunately, due to limited time, we can only get 2 questions.
Boom. Yes. I didn't get that. To invest in?
Emerging tech, like digital.
Emerging tech. Okay. All right. Let me show you. Let me answer that with a slide. Okay, so to answer your question, the key is to make sure that you can prove ROI. What does management always want to talk about? How many times have we heard management talk about ROI, return on investment? It's like they're obsessed with it, right? ROI this, ROI that, right? Okay. An easy way for them to understand is when you talk in their language. This is a post that I put up, right? About a month ago. A month ago I put up a post, and this has absolutely nothing to do with me being a coach and a storyteller. Bear in mind, what do? I go around and I engage with people, I share perspectives, I coach people. That's my business model, right? This post has absolutely nothing to do with me. All I've done in this post is tell a story about somebody else. Completely disconnected, right? Check this out, guys. In a matter of, I think, what, 2 days, less than 2 days? I don't know if you guys are all on LinkedIn, but you have an idea. LinkedIn isn't like Facebook and other platforms where you can put something up and 1 billion people like it. LinkedIn is very difficult to actually get even more than 70 or 80 likes. Am I right? LinkedIn is not easy. What's the number right there? It isn't even about me. I'm not selling myself at all. All I'm doing is I'm talking about something that appeals to the senses, gives audience what matters, and captures authentic moments. Now here's the ROI to answer your question. Out of the 29 comments and out of the 30,000 views from all over the world, I closed 4 deals, training contracts, out of this post alone. Let me repeat that. I closed 4 training contracts out of this one post. Traditional advertising, tell me, which traditional advertising lets somebody post one post, which takes about 10 minutes, and gets close to 500,000 ringgit worth of business out of it? Name me one traditional advertising model that brings you that revenue. Tell that to your management. They'll shut up. They just need to understand it. That's all. Anybody else?
One last question.
I don't bite, guys. Good? Okay.
Okay, so if there are no more questions, can we just give another round of applause to AJ?
Oh, thank you. Thank you, guys. Thank you very much.